And you expect him to address that tonight in some ways?
I think so. I think so. Look, self-deprecating humor is a superpower.
Right.
If you can take yourself out of the sort of bogus frame that they're trying to put him in, of he's doddering, he's a simpleton, he's an old man, and drooling on himself, and he shows that he's witty and he's funny, but he's 81 years old. That's fine. I mean, look, I think that one of the contrasts that he should hit tonight, I think he will, is that Donald Trump can't stay awake in the courtroom.
Right.
Donald Trump needs a nap time and a blankie every day during the court. Does he get a juice box and a mat? I mean, this is a guy who, if you're making your campaign that Joe Biden's too old, don't fall asleep 4 times a day.
And don't confuse Nancy Pelosi with Nikki Haley.
And on and on and on. I mean, there's a million ways that Donald Trump is not exactly a cognitive superstar.
All right, so while President Biden continues to take up space on the campaign trail, Donald Trump was stuck in a Manhattan courthouse for a second time with his hush money trial that was getting underway. His former fixer, Michael Cohen, writes for MSNBC, "This is only the beginning. Every day spent in court is a day that Trump can't be out talking to supporters or raising money." So, Dean, to Rick's point, this guy's fallen asleep in his own trial. He is violating gag orders. He is confusing the names of his former opponents. All of that sends a very strong message to whether or not this guy is even competent to run for president.
I actually think what's going on now with Trump, the fact that people are mocking him, that he's Don Snorleone and the Godfather.
That one I did not hear.
Right,
did you make that up? Are you trying that out?
I made it up the lower third. I just coined it. Thank you very much. No, but my point is, him getting a conviction, he can talk to his base and say it was a New York trial. Him being a punchline, him falling asleep at trial, that cuts through everything. You don't need to follow politics. You don't have to follow the law. The guy can't stay awake. He fell asleep 3 times at least out of the first 5 days. And they're all talking about him. It's his trial. It's his name coming up all the time. He's like, "This is a good time to nap." So I think that's going to affect him a great deal. I don't think being in the courtroom for his followers doesn't mean much. I think that he's not able to stay awake. There's something different. He didn't fall asleep in 2020 when he was president at public events.
Right.
He is falling asleep now. Something has changed objectively. And people in the media, in case you know any, should be asking questions about, why is he falling asleep? Is there something physical? I'm not joking. Is it a side effect to a medication?
Yeah, it's a serious question.
Is it a cognitive decline? Yeah. Is it sundowning? Whatever it might be. I'm not a doctor, but the media should cover it the same way they would for the President Biden. If he fell asleep once, it would be covered nonstop.
I was just going to say, he's also lying about the size of the crowds. We've been down at the courthouse a couple times. He says that thousands of people are trying to get there, but they can't figure out the barricade. We've walked in there twice, and we were there last Monday. We counted 3 Trump supporters, and the Trump supporters insisted that a guy who was on a lunch break eating a sandwich was also a Trump supporter, so we gave him...
One of those guys was trying to sell merch. He was trying to sell some merchandise.
And then also Andrew Giuliani was there.
Right.
And if Andrew Giuliani can figure out how to get to the protest there...
Any Trump supporter
anybody could figure that out.
That's a guy that's easily overcome by inanimate objects.
Right.
So if he can figure it out, anybody can.
Let me ask you, Rick, about the dynamic that's playing within the trial a little bit. Sure. This week you had Donald Trump basically say nice things about David Pecker, the editor of the National Enquirer. And he was giving damning testimony against Trump inside the courtroom. That doesn't square with the Donald Trump that we have seen, who goes after opponents relentlessly, has gone after witnesses, has gone after judges. Suddenly, I think the big tell is that he's being nice to David Pecker. And that, for me, is probably the biggest sign that David Pecker is the most credible witness here.
I wrote a piece about it earlier this week called Donald Trump's Pecker Problem.
Right.
Now, that would normally lead to a Viagra.
Do not put that on.
It would normally lead to a Viagra joke.
Do not put on the lower third. You guys are really trying to get me in trouble tonight.
The fact that Trump was he seems like a very nice man.
Right.
The fact that he's so cautious about this guy, and the fact that the entire MAGA media infrastructure, from Fox to Newsmax to OAN to all the other crazies, they're dead silent about David Pecker. They get it. They understand that this guy's doing something very deadly for them. And the most deadly part of it is that he's validating in advance the testimony that Michael Cohen, who has all the receipts, is going to give next. And Trump is terrified of this guy. He knows where all the bodies are buried. He was the guy with the safe in his office with all the details of the hush money stuff. This is a guy who really, for once, makes Trump afraid.
The other one that I think makes Trump afraid, RFK Jr., you get a sense of that from how Trump has gone after him on social media today. He's basically saying he's a conspiracy theorist. It's hard to imagine Trump calling anyone a conspiracy theorist. So
the fact the election was stolen.
No, he's a conspiracy theorist. He's making fun of RFK's positions on vaccines. And I think that, to me, again, is a tell that Donald Trump is afraid of what RFK Jr. is going to do.
He is. He's also afraid of what he's seeing come out of these new polls, which show that he's actually pulling votes away
That's what I
from
mean.
him.
Exactly.
So, he's